Hello, so today we're going to be going over every set that I've played in TFT, and I'm going to rank them by how much fun I had during the set, basically like a little bit of an opinionated how much I like each of the sets, starting with set 9 where I first started playing TFT up until the current set of set 13. Before I do so, also make sure to like and subscribe. It does help me out as a small content creator. We are remarkably close to 7,000 subs. We'll have viewer lobbies at 7,000 subs, so we'll organize in my Discord, and that'll be like a nice little fun thing to give back to the community and maybe have some fun little sets together to end off the set. Additionally, there are membership offers if you want to see additional content or if you want to support me through that means or get coaching. And there's also my store. I'm going to be at anime conventions in the summer, so this is me just posting some of my art, and then I'm going to be doing more and updating this regularly. So let's start with the sets. Now, we're going to start with set 9. This might be a little bit of rose-tinted lenses, but every time I think back to set 9, I think it's the most fun that I've had in TFT. I think if set 9 wasn't as fun as it was, I would not be a TFT content creator. I did enjoy it the most. I think when I think back to set 9, there are so many comps that were just very interesting and very fun to play. I think many of them were relevant at different points of the set, and it was back when there were halfway points of the set, right? So like there used to be a set 9 and then a 9.5, so it felt almost fleeting because it existed only for such a short period before it got absolutely destroyed with set 9.5, which we'll talk about in a second, because that was maybe the most miserable thing that I've ever experienced in my life in terms of gaming. But set 9, you had just like OG kind of looking characters, nothing out of the ordinary. The set mechanic was Legends. It felt very beginner friendly, and I was a beginner, so it kind of leaned itself very into just early play. I felt like there was a lot of flexibility, not only between lines, between different traits. The vertical traits weren't super important, so it didn't feel dominant to play the vertical traits. 5 costs were strong. Some of them weren't as strong, but there was like good, like Scion was a great tank, and then you had Senna, which just worked really well as just an add-in to the unit, just buff your whole board and give a huge shield. And then you had Heimer that was kind of like Rumble this set, where you can just like upgrade him, except you have to roll for the upgrades, and you just gave insane utility. So it was just great to cap out your board. You just get a dude with a turret. Like every aspect of it that I think back on, like that's a set when I think of TFT, everything always is me comparing it to set 9, or at least the idealization in my mind of my memories of what set 9 was, and thinking about like, okay, that's what I wanted to experience. Now, set 9.5, I think a lot of people, when you think about set 9, there's some people that really like it, some people that really hate it. The one that people hate, which is justified, is set 9.5. 9.5 was arguably, I think, in my experience, the worst balanced game I have ever seen in my life. I did not know that there can be that level of misery, to the point where even now I always call back. I'm like, well, at least it's not like set 9.5. This set was atrocious. And the thing was, like, this was right when I started playing. So I played my first, like, you know when you guys, like, I'm sure, like, all of you guys in my comment section, there's so many of you, where it's like, this is my first set, and I have a goal, and I'm gonna reach this goal, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, like, you guys are all, like, excited when it's your first set, and you try and climb, right? So I started midway through set 9. I climbed to Diamond. And then 9.5 happened, and I said, okay, it's time to get to Masters, right? Similar to how most people do their ranked journey. And 9.5 was so miserable, I said to myself, you know, I think that I might never play TFT again, but I'm going to give them one more chance after this. The set started with me being extremely excited to play it, and then it was like the Bilgewater trait was way overtuned. Basically, there was this trait where like it would just drop like little cannonballs on the whole board, but the trait itself was insanely strong. So basically, in a lobby, like it would be like 8 out of 8 Bilgewater players. Like there was literally no other comp to play. If you tried to play another comp, you just kind of were shooting yourself in the foot. There was a video I made on this channel. I think it was like I think it was like a short, I think, where I just stayed up one night just to prove a point, and I went top 4 every single game, and I ranked up straight to like whatever rank I needed to get to that evening by just playing nothing but Bilgewater. I then, like, you know, you would think that's a bad start. Like, you know, it'll get better. Surely they fix it, right? They fixed it for like one patch, and then it was like 1 cost rerolls. So 1 cost rerolls were the worst because everybody just contested a 1 cost reroll and the whole lobby was just 1 cost reroll. There was no way to play around anything else because everybody hit at the start of stage 3. It was miserable. Then you would think, oh, well, surely they learned their lesson by now. It's surely going to be balanced. Then they buffed this other comp called multi-strikers, and everybody was just playing multi-strikers. And then at that point, the set's almost done because it's a shorter set because it's like halfway point, right? So then you would think like, oh, maybe they'll fix it. No, that's just how the set ended. It just ended unbalanced. What ended up happening was because of the legends, it became one of 2 strategies. You either played towards hitting like a 9 vertical trait or a 10 vertical trait. You know how the prismatics work. You either picked a legend that gave you a spatula, so you played towards the vertical trait, or you picked a legend that helped you to shuffle your items so you can hard force the reroll comp. It was completely degenerate. It was the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. And holy crap, man. Holy. But there's one good thing that came out of this set 9.5, and that's my little legend. The little knockoff Pochita, the knife pup that I use. Now, Remix Rumble. I think it was alright A. Alright, like, maybe that's not the nicest word to use. I think alright is just, like, not the peak. But to me, this was probably one of my favorite sets for sure. This was the music set, and I like the music set. I like the music. I like the units. I felt like all the comms had a spot. They were very flexible, very playable. It started out as being a very fast 9 meta, which was really fun and entertaining because I love just being around higher cost units. I'm not a big fan of reroll. Eventually everything devolved into being mostly reroll. Of the reroll comps, I did become a Riven reroll master, and I think towards the end of those videos when I was doing it on YouTube, it was just me just hard forcing Riven every game because I loved the 8-bit trait. It was a cash out trait where like your units got stronger, and then there's like a giga cash out, and I got the giga cash out many times. It was very fun. The only reason it's not in the S tier for me is because I think the set mechanic was a little bit degenerate. Basically, the set mechanic was you would upgrade a unit and it would just be, you would buy a unit in your shop and then they would be a headliner. So they would be a 2-star version of themselves, and they would have one of their traits being like a +1. So like they would have like an extra synergy. It was annoying because like sometimes it felt kind of RNG. Like you'd be playing towards a comp, you think you're in a good spot, and then all of a sudden, you know, somebody just hits it in one shop roll and you roll like 100 shops and you don't see the one that you want. There was a level of flexibility that you had to have, which was interesting and fun. But the problem is that by the end of the set, they kind of kept buffing around these core cookie cutter thing. It was called Superfan that kind of helped your headliner, and then it just became like a reroll meta. So everybody was just like rolling for the reroll, because basically what would happen is you get an upgraded copy of the unit, so you would roll for the unit and then you get the upgraded copy, and then you would have a 3-star very early. So it became very degenerate towards the end of the set, and that's why it's not in the S tier, it's still in the A tier, because there was a lot of points in the set which were very like, oh, like such a heavy, like difficult to deal with. Set 11, I threw it in B, met tier. Encounters were dog shit for me. I hated that. I still bitch about Kha'Zix encounter, holy shit. Like if I could talk about this shit for days. Basically, there was like the way they have encounters now at the start of the game, there were encounters that would randomly appear throughout the middle of the game. Not only to talk about the balance of the units, not only to talk about the rerolls, not only to talk about all the other shit. Hero augments were broken in this set as well. There's so many other things in the set. But then on top of all of that, randomly in the middle of the game, there would be an encounter. And these encounters, some of them were absolutely disgusting. There was one that just gave you Ornn artifacts, right? So it was like, great, now somebody just hit Exodia, I guess I just lose. Then you would think, okay, well that's not that bad. What about the other ones? The one that I always complain about is Kha'Zix. This piece of shit, he would show up and he basically gave everybody level up. It was like, oh, EXP now costs 3 gold instead of 4 gold. So you know what would happen? Kha'Zix would appear, and then if you just leveled up, you just lost a bunch of gold relative to the lobby. It was so annoying. It just rewarded greedy play, and it rewarded people just like not doing anything. And it's like, you don't know what spot you're in. You can't just not do anything the whole game in case Kha'Zix appears. But every single time, it was so annoying. And then there was one that helped rerolls, which that one wasn't that bad, because even if you're not rerolling, you can still make use of it, because like, you know, like you gotta use rolls to hit your 4 costs and your high cost comps as well. but it just always felt like wrong. There was one that just gave everybody HP, and then like, it's like you couldn't play around it. And if you tried to play flexibly, a lot of times you got burned for it. So the best strategy often was to play super greedy, but then you're just playing on like the razor thin margin, and you just lose for free anyways. Like if you play towards the encounter, you're playing for the RNG, and if you play against the RNG, then you get screwed by the encounter. Oh my. It was very beautiful though. I will say their whole thing was like they made it like all artsy, because like Inkborn, and it had like a very like, you know, like Sumie like style drawing and everything. I was like, this is pretty and it's beautiful and it's visually stunning. It just sucked. I did not enjoy it that much, but it's in meh. It's not bad or anything, because there's still parts of it that were really fun. There's a lot of comps that I really like to play. I think like looking back on it, the 5 cost, some of them were strong. I like Ghostly a lot. But then Ghostly became like a degenerate reroll, but I used to really like Ghostly in that set. So there's a couple things that were kind of nice. Magic and Mayhem. So this was last set. I put this in... Man, is it here or here? I think when I first played it, it was here. Let me just talk through it and see what we think. So Magic and Mayhem, the main set mechanic was Charms. I really liked Charms. Charms were great. The problem is that there was the hero augments that were really atrocious. I didn't like the 5 cost that much. They felt kind of boring, if I recall correctly. Some of the traits were kind of annoying. The vertical traits it became like a very deep vertical trait kind of set. You had to force a lot from your early game, it felt like. There wasn't a lot of flexibility. Oh, yeah, the balance. Oh my god, the balance. Oh god, Callista. I just remembered. Oh my god, Callista being broken for like 2 months straight. Holy shit, was that miserable. Oh yeah, it's definitely in B tier. I'm trying to justify putting it in A tier, but I don't think I can, guys. I think it's another B tier. Holy shit. Oh, I remembered. Okay. Let me go through everything, okay? First of all, Callista. There was this Callista comp that was just so annoying, because you just played Vertical Fairy, and you just gave her double Gwinsu, and she just popped the fuck off, and it was just so ridiculously annoying. And it was so broken that, like, you were stable with a Callista 1 and a Rakan 1. So you just had a 1-star copy of each of the 4 costs, and you were insanely stable on stage 4. So everybody, it was always like a 3-way contest for Callista, because, like, you're all stable and you're probably gonna top 4 just from like saving HP. It was just so annoying. And like, instead of like nerfing the units, instead of nerfing the trait and like fixing around the units, they just nerfed specifically the units so they didn't work outside of the set. Like there was a unit called Rakan, and he was like the main tank in the Callista, and this was like the most miserable thing for me, because it's like Rakan was also like a general preserver unit that you can play with other comps. So like you were like, oh, so I'll play Rakan with other comps. What did they do? They fucking broke his ankles 100 times over. And guess what? In Fairy, he was still broken, because they giga buffed the Fairy trait, and they just made it so you had to play around the vertical traits, and they kept cutting the flexible options. They kept taking a unit that had multiple traits and just like absolutely breaking their kneecaps because the vertical trait was too strong. And instead of nerfing the vertical trait, it was just so miserable. So for me, with my playstyle that I generally like to have like flexible options, it was like, no, if you just commit towards the vertical every single time, it was like the better strategy in most cases. Also, the cash out trait was dog shit. It was called Sugarcraft, and it never functioned correctly for the entirety of the set. There was like 1 or 2 cases where you can actually play towards it, but for most part it was not relevant at all in the meta, except for like another style of like, you know, somewhere in there. And then there was a couple patches that were just pure reroll. They were just 3 cost reroll meta that just had to commit to a 3 cost reroll. That was kind of like in the 75% mark. It was just so throughout the set, like it was a shame, because I think the set mechanic, I think out of most of these that we have to talk about, I think the set mechanic in set 12 was arguably one of the most enjoyable, one of the most stimulating, one of the most interesting, and one of the most fun for me. Arguably, if I was talking about set mechanics in general, so the main overarching thing that kind of works with the set 12 might have been my favorite. Like, if I have to go through them, like, reasonably talking about through them, like, I think the only reason I might say set 9 is nostalgia, right? Set 9, if I actually analyze the set mechanic of it, even though it's like S tier to me because of my memories of it, it's like the set mechanic probably fucking sucked, because like it eventually devolved into complete degeneracy by set 9.5. Maybe just set 9 didn't have enough time for people to optimize for it, if that makes sense. So it feels bad. So I always want to rank set 12 a little bit higher, but I just didn't enjoy the balancing of it. Now, set 13. This is the time. This is the time. Do we put it in S? Do we put it in A? Do we put it in B? Do we put it in C? It's definitely not uninstalled because I haven't uninstalled it yet. Nothing's ever going to be here. Now, let's work our way up. So, at the start of the set, I think this was S tier for me. I think the launch of set 13 was probably one of the best launches that I've experienced in all of the sets. There was very little degeneracy. The only thing that was a problem was just like Black Rose Flex, but I like playing Flex. I like playing AP Flex particularly. So whenever there's an AP Flex kind of meta, I don't really mind it. I think it's pretty good. Oh, wait, Magic and Mayhem also had Syndra. Oh, it's definitely in B tier. Syndra fucking broken on the set launch. But anyways, all of these other sets, they kind of had problems on launch that made them very difficult to play around. Set 13, I feel like had one of the smoothest launches. I think the mechanic, the anomaly mechanic, is very good. I think it rewards creative thinking in a lot of cases, but also at the same time, there's a matter of like settling and understanding your spot and playing around your spot. Like, do I save for anomaly? Do I roll deep for anomaly, etc.? Is this anomaly good enough? I like it when you have to think about what you're doing and it's not just cookie cutter of exactly what it is, because the whole point of TFT is to make decisions that will impact your future state of the game. So for set 13 at launch, it was probably one of the best launches of a set ever, and it also was when my YouTube channel popped off. So not only was I having fun with set 13, there was also this huge pop off on my YouTube, which was great because it made me feel like everything I was doing was worthwhile, and I was happy that I was able to help a lot of people that were really new to the game, because that's the whole point of making my YouTube in the first place. So everything was all great, and then they added 6 costs, so I think it goes in B tier. I think over time with the set, they kind of just cut a little bit of the flexible options. I think at the start of the set, they kind of made it so that like everything was like a 2 trait. A lot of units had 3 traits, and you can play in a really flexible way. And I think they slowly nerfed lines outside of their flexible options. It's like it's starting to come back a little bit now towards the end of the set. But at the same time, I feel like right now the current meta is also like kind of devolved towards like if you have a reroll line, you kind of have to take it because it's a little bit hard to stabilize and play around some of the other flexible lines. I feel like 6 costs for me is one of the worst things I've ever experienced in my life. I hate them so much. I think they ruined the game. I hope they never come back. And for many times during the set, I didn't want to play anymore. And I think the reason that I hate 6 costs so much maybe isn't even because the 6 costs are that bad. They might actually be okay. You know what I mean? Like, they might not actually be that big of a problem. But I think it's because the set started out here for me, that 6 costs ruined it so much for me that I just don't look fondly on the set anymore. Now, I'm not like an Arcane fan. I'm going to be honest. I watch the show. I've talked about my opinions on the show on stream to various degrees of success, but I didn't enjoy the show that much. It is what it is. So, and I'm not a big League of Legends person, so that's probably also why, like, you know, like, I'm not deep into the lore. So, like, I understand that if, like, I think the appeal of this set being related to such an important franchise for so many people, like, this is a lot of people's favorite show, and this is a lot of people's, like, favorite, like, you know, animation that was ever produced. And for those people, I agree. It's definitely like an S tier set. But for me, from like just a gameplay, like I play TFT just for the gameplay aspect of it, primarily. For the gameplay aspect of it, the 6 costs were so bad for me that it goes into B tier. It's with these other ones. It's a set that I don't want to ever play again. I'm going to be happy in around a week when I don't have to play it anymore, because I don't have to make videos or content about it. I can just reliably just start playing the next set that's going to be in PvE. And I'm excited to make content for the next set. These 6 costs, they always feel like they sway the outcome of the fight. I feel like I hate the fact that their odds, like there's two worlds we live in, right? The odds have to be so astronomically low that they don't affect most games, or the odds have to be high enough that you can always guarantee getting a 6 cost as well as somebody else getting a 6 cost, similar to how 5 costs are, right? Like if you're in a good spot, you can get a 5 cost and you can play around 5 costs. But like you can never do that with a 6 cost. You can never say to yourself, oh yeah, I'll just also get a 6 cost and I'll be able to beat that guy's board. I think making such an RNG thing where the units are so strong, and multiple patches, they were like, now they're a little bit better by the end of the set, but for most of the set they were so miserably strong, some of them, and it just like it completely screws up the game for me that I did not enjoy it at all. It's just like I'm just playing the game and it's like, oh yeah, I'm playing for like a 3rd/a 4th. Spaghetti-o, somebody found Blood Hunter Warwick is on the field, and I just lose the fucking game. And it's like, what am I doing here? Like, what am I actually spending time playing this game for? Like, why? Like, why do I bother? Right? And I had to ask myself that a lot of times during this set, and that's why it's in B tier. Additionally, there was also the other thing, the encounters. They took away our right to vote. Like, before, at the opening of the game, you were able to vote for a portal. And there was a, like, you know, if you got one of the, like, the RNG wacky ones, you know, sometimes some people would go for it. Sometimes a lot of people would go for it. Here, I hate the fact that you're just always forced to play, like, whatever it gives you. And some of them are so shit. Like, they fixed it a little bit, but I still don't like the current percentages of the encounters, because the problem is that, like, you know, if you're like a player that doesn't play a lot of games, you want the encounters to be very varied, because you want to experience different aspects of the game if you only play like 5-10 games a week. I play 5-10 games a day, and half those games are freaking Scuttle Puddle or Savika or some really high variance bullshit. It is so miserable, and I want it to get toned down a little bit more. Now, they already toned it down from what it was, so it's significantly better than it used to be. And that's when I used to complain about Warwick. I used to complain about some of the other ones. It was like you had like a 50, I remember I calculated the odds on stream one day because I was so tilted. There was like a 65% chance that you have a very high RNG game. And I was like, I'm playing 10 games a day, and half my games are like absolute slobber knockers of like just high roll simulator, that if you don't high roll, you're just such a bad spot and so far behind. And they fixed it and they made it a lot better, and I got a lot more consistent at playing around the set. I also improved a lot during the set, but I'm just trying to justify why it's B tier. Now, all the things that are good about it, right? The units, the trait web is one of the best trait webs. The balance, this is one of the best balances that has ever experienced in TFT. Like I said, if it wasn't for 6 costs and the encounters, it would be S tier. Straight up. So if you think that it's A tier, if you think that it's S tier, you are 100% right, and you are 100% valid. If you think this set is worse than B tier, I don't know. This is one of the best balanced sets that there has ever been. I only can pray and hope that future sets are as well put together as set 13. The only problem was the goddamn 6 cost and the Warwick encounter and a little bit of the odds on the encounters. But that was enough to make my experience very miserable. So that's why it goes into B tier. So that's my set ranking. You guys can talk about whatever your favorite sets are, of course. Obviously it's opinionated. It's not like somebody's gonna say, but what about this, and I'm gonna change my mind. So, you know, of course, if you want to like tell me what your favorite set is, go ahead. I didn't play the older sets, so if there was something that you had in the older sets that you were like, this was really fun, this was really cool, a lot of them are getting remixed, or like what's it called, getting set revivals. So if there's like an older set and a lot of you people are like, this is the set that you should play, you'll love this set, let me know, because then I'll make sure to try it out in the revival, because usually I skip those revivals. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll go back to doing guides tomorrow and other stuff. I want to do a fun game today, or a fun video today, because it's really hot and I've had a headache all day, so it couldn't focus on doing something I need something with less brain power, you know what I mean? And also I'm gonna try and do challenger grind on stream soon if I feel better this week, but we'll see. Because I might just give up. It depends how I feel, because I'm already not feeling well at the start of the week, so I might just skip out on playing TFT. But anyways, thanks for watching, and see ya. Bye-bye.